with some exceptions.
Jeff's report mentioned high levels of barium linked to those alleged chemtrails. We wanted to find out exactly what effects barium has on the body. We spoke with Mark Ryan, the director of the Poison Control Center. Ryan tells KSLA News 12 that short-term exposure can lead to anything from stomach to chest pains. Long-term exposure causes blood pressure problems. Ryan addressed concerns by chemtrail researchers that barium could be meant to wear down a person's immune system.
Anything that causes ill effects in the body long-term chronically is going to affect your ability because it's constantly working on the body. So from that aspect, yeah, it's a potential.
Ryan says he's conducted research on his own about secret government testing on the public, but he's still a bit skeptical about the alleged chemtrails, at least at the moment, because the Poison Control Center has seen no calls about exposure to barium.
Now, you heard him mention there about side effects, how it would lower your immune system. And I found all kinds of health effects of aluminum, which has been found in the chemtrail samples. I found health effects of the chemicals that are used in cloud seeding. I found lab analysis of chemtrails in Colorado. Spray tankers tracked by radar lab tests raise concerns. Radionics machine detects possible stimulants in chemtrails. And the FDA approves the secret spraying of viruses on your meats. This come out of the Associated Press, August 18, 2006. And, you know, with this barium in there and how it has the potential to lower people's immune systems, with all these new flu viruses and H1N1, H1N5, and these new things that are popping up almost regularly, stuff people don't even know what it is now, I think it's cause for concern that they're spraying this stuff in our air without, you know, our approval. And a lot of this information and these analyses and all kinds of stuff on the health effects of the chemtrails can be found at chemtrails911.com. Chemtrails911.com. Check that out. You'll find a whole bunch of sources for this information. Congressman Dennis Kucinich is acquainted with chemtrail projects. He introduced the Space Preservation Act of 2001 to prohibit certain space-based weapons in the United States, including chemtrails. And what do you mean space-based weapons? Well, I'll tell you right now, they're using this stuff, this kind of technology, as weapons, military weapons. Yes. Right down to where they can determine where a lightning strike is going to hit. You know, I'm not kidding you. They're doing this kind of weaponization in the military. And the History Channel did cover some of this stuff. This was on mainstream TV, but they did cover the chemtrail aspect of it.
Did the Royal Air Force embark on daring cloud seeding experiments without the public's knowledge?
Some people reported seeing aircraft undertaking strange maneuvers, and it subsequently emerged that there was an experiment codenamed Operation Cumulus, which was indeed an attempt at weather modification. Interestingly, many of the documents relating to Operation Cumulus have disappeared and are not available from the National Archives.
A little over a decade later, the U.S. military conducted experiments to bring weather to the battlefield. October 1966. The Vietnam War is in full swing. U.S. military scientists are devising a way to slow down enemy forces using the weather.
U.S. had gone from advisor status to in-field combat status, and we're not doing well. As a result of not being able to make progress on the ground, the U.S. went to bringing the battle into the atmosphere above the battlefield.
The Air Force employed a groundbreaking military directive called Project Popeye.
Project Popeye was a weather modification program that involved cloud seeding, and the idea was to produce or exaggerate the monsoon rains that are traditional in that region.
Experiments are carried out beforehand with the military aircraft dropping silver iodide crystals in clouds over a strip of the Laos Panhandle, east of the Bolovans Plateau in the Sekong River Valley. 50 cloud seeding runs are conducted. 82% of the clouds seeded produce rain within a brief period.
So Project Popeye then became Operation Popeye. It became a proper military program during the Vietnam War.
The goal of Operation Popeye was to extend the monsoon season and create an inordinate amount of rainfall by seeding clouds over the Ho Chi Minh Trail.
The Ho Chi Minh Trail was the primary supply route by which the North Vietnamese Army really supplied its troops that were operating, and combat forces operating in South Vietnam, as well as supplying the Viet Cong. So it was the most significant logistical center of gravity to the North Vietnamese, and it was an important strategic objective for the United States and our ally South Vietnam to try to interdict that supply line to cut off those supplies to the enemy.
Operation Popeye's objectives are to soften road surfaces on the Ho Chi Minh Trail, cause landslides along roadways, and wash out river crossings.
The military had their own catchphrase as a result of this program, and it was "Make mud, not war."
They flew over 2,600 missions from a period of 1966 to 1972, and it's believed that it did exacerbate the amount of rainfall and probably extended the monsoon season by 30 to 45 days.
It had limited success. They did succeed in generating rain. They did succeed in turning the Viet Cong resupply route into a quagmire of mud. It didn't slow them down a bit. They were bringing the stuff in on bicycles, and they just slogged through the mud.
Operation Popeye showed that weather can be brought to the battlefield as rain, but can it also be weaponized in the form of a hurricane? Some say it already has.
Some people believe that Katrina was weather warfare at its most potent.
Weather has been used on the battlefield with only limited success. But the technology is already here, paving the way for a bleak future once it's perfected. And some historians point to one haunting incident as proof. August 23rd, 2005. The National Weather Service is tracking an unassuming storm forming over the Bahamas. A storm this size rarely damages buildings or even takes lives. In fact, at this point, it's simply known as Tropical Depression 12. But that will change. It will unexpectedly grow into the mother of all storms, a Category 5 hurricane, with winds up to 175 miles per hour. It is named Hurricane Katrina. When Katrina slams into the Gulf Coast states, it will become one of the deadliest disasters in U.S. history, costing $81 billion in property damage and claiming more than 1,800 lives. Like other hurricanes of that era, Katrina showed some very peculiar movements never before seen in a major hurricane.
The 2005 hurricane season, there were some very amazing, strange anomalies. There were some things that should not have happened. One of the things was that many of the hurricane tracks were in almost straight lines, and hurricanes don't go in straight lines.
An ominous theory has surfaced that seems far-fetched.
There are some extremely sinister conspiracy theories circulating about Hurricane Katrina. Some people believe that Katrina hit where it hit with the power that it struck because of Russian or Chinese weather control experiments.
Just before coming on shore, Katrina did an abrupt 90-degree turn, hard left, and went down the beach for a substantial distance before coming on shore. So we have speculations that our enemies had been throwing hurricanes at us. We were being bombarded, attacked with the weather.
So far, there has been no conclusive proof of such a conspiracy. Most attribute Katrina's path to the vagaries of a hurricane, but it does illustrate the potential of such a weapon.
To control and direct a hurricane gives you power at least equivalent to nuclear weapons. A hurricane could be the ultimate weapon of war.
The very next year after Katrina, something strange happened. According to the National Weather Service, not a single hurricane made landfall in 2006. The the U.S. military be using HARP to fend off hurricane attacks?